Mr. McCook, first man on. Hey, Gary. Everybody else that's on, give a shout out. Mario, bless up. Kenneth, welcome. All the faithfuls are here. Give thanks. Marvin, what's going on? Yeah, you guys do me a favor and share the link as usual so we can um, get people on. Let me see if I can do a couple sharing here. How do I share this thing? Yeah. If everybody can share. I'm trying to share it myself. How's everybody doing? Um, hope all is well. Dave, Leon, my mom, Bob's, what's going on? Marilyn, big up. Kareem, what's going on? Wayne, Teddy, Connor. Um, welcome, guys. Tonight, I figure we're gonna talk about safety on the farm, and the reason this is actually Trudy's idea because we had a situation on the farm, an incident on the farm, which I figure we should share with the family things that happen on the farm and how we can learn from it and how we can help the people who, you know, is in our circle, in our family, iGoat family, the Cabra Ranch followers, everybody. So we had one worker, not Cruz. I know y'all are familiar with Cruz. Not Cruz. It's I would call it Cruz second. He's newer to the family. It's been about 6 months, maybe somewhere around there. So I wasn't on the farm. So apparently, Judy was there. So apparently, he was moving the cows, Cherry and Old Baby, from one pasture to the next. Now, these two cows have rope on them for handling purposes. They're not tied 99% of the time. They're just in the pasture, but we have a rope on them for handling purposes. So I don't know exactly what happened, but apparently the rope was wrapped around his hand. I guess he was trying to keep the cow from moving or something. The rope tightened on his hand, fractured his finger, his index finger, Trudy, and it took off, pinch off the skin off the tip of his finger, like take it off. It was hanging. And so he went to the hospital, got stitches, did the x-ray, discovered that the finger is fractured. So they had to spend all day at the hospital. And here's my joke on the farm all the time when I tell the guys to use safety gear or put safety first, don't take shortcuts, everything. My thing is always like, yo, I don't want to go to the hospital. I do what you want to do, but don't do anything that's going to make us go to the hospital. I don't want to go to the hospital because the hospital, especially in Jamaica, it's an all day thing. So, yep, he had to go into the clinic. Clinic couldn't do anything for him. So they sent him to the hospital. All day at the hospital till like 7 o'clock at night. This happened late morning before lunch. And they spent all day at the hospital. So we give thanks that it wasn't worse. It wasn't, you know, a real bad fracture or or crazy cut and a lot of stitches. But we figured, Trudy say, oh, make we do iGoat chat on farm safety. Because this is something we take serious at Cover Ranch, and I talk about it all the time with the guys. Do not take shortcuts. They get gloves, they get eye covering. Like I see them, they just put it aside all the time. And I was like, where's the gloves I gave you? Where's the glasses, the safety glasses I gave you? Don't push your hand too close to the machine. Don't do this. Don't do that. Wear proper shoes. Jamaicans is a different set of people. Seriously. Jamaica's safety shoes is flip flops or Crocs. For them safety shoes that. Don't know where them get this from. But anyway, so we figured we'll go over some safety measures that everybody should have on their farm. Ensure that your workers or yourself, keep these things at the forefront of your mind every time when you're doing anything on the farm, because it's important that one, you got to protect your workers, you got to protect yourself, you got to protect your workers, and you don't want people getting injured on the farm. You don't want people being injured because people have family, people have their own life that you got to look out for them, and that's what we take serious. See, Darren wants me to talk about the insurance right off the bat. So yes, Darren, insurance. Insurance is important. If you can afford insurance, get liability insurance or health insurance for your workers, etc. And we'll get into that later on. So let me start with Jamaicans love using equipment without, I didn't think it's Jamaicans alone, but I find it very like prevalent in dealing with Jamaicans on our farm, where people don't really pay attention to the manuals and the instructions that comes with equipment or even installing something. They figure they can do it their way. If someone calls for 4 screw, then put two in it. And say, yeah, man, it take a hole. And I'm like, yo, so you know more than the scientist or the engineer will come up with it, because if them put 4 holes in it, then it's supposed to take 4 screws or 4 bolts. Like, they know. You know what I mean? It's a thing. So number one, I think, is any equipment or chemicals or anything that comes with an instruction manual or a warning, people should read it. You, the owner, should read it and then explain it to them. And we know that a lot of these guys dealing with their education level is not up there. However, you can read it and explain to them how it should be applied. And the ones that can read it, let them read it to you and find out if they really understand what they're reading. Because it's very important that they understand the warnings and how to use the equipment, the proper usage of the equipment. You know what I mean? Every equipment whether it's lawnmower or weed whacker or a shafting machine or a drill or a saw, all of them come with instructions on warning. The equipment usually have a warning sticker on it of things you shouldn't do, and even in the event something happened, what you should do. So you got to make sure they understand it. Because I see guys use weed whacker and they're using, first, they don't attach the blade or the string properly, will come flying off. They don't pay attention to the direction they're using it. They don't make sure the surroundings are clear of hazardous um, things like, sticks or stones or wires, or they don't. They wait until it wrap up around the machine or the wire swing on the machine and cut them or something before they do that. So these things got to be explained to them. Read the manual. Yeah, projectiles, stones, crazy how weed whacker can create harm on the farm or anywhere. Read the manual, follow the instructions. You know what I mean? Even if you get a new weed whacker, you should read the manual for that new weed whacker, because there could be changes from the old model to this model. The attachments may be done differently. The screws may be different size, like a different model, different instruction. You should read it. Doesn't matter if you're very familiar with weed whacker, because weed whacker you're familiar with maybe it's 5, 6 years old, 10 years old. And they may change how the attachment is done, how the blades are put on, how you put the string in it. They may improve the engine and the ratio to the oil and whatever they put in it, gas versus and oil mixture, whatever they put in it. Maybe a different ratio, you don't know. Just like all new cars now ask you to put 91, 90 or the high thing fuel in it. It's the same thing for these new equipment. So number one, read manual, comply with the instructions, and read the warnings, understand it. Next thing is the laws of the country, of your country, the safety laws, what you can do, what you can't do. Like a man think because him pickup truck is just for the farm, him not for license it, or it doesn't have to have proper lights or whatever indicator. If it's going on the road, it needs everything that makes it road worthy. If you're still using it on the farm and it never touches the road, you still need these things on it, so the person behind you or the person in front of you can see what you're doing. If you're turning, if you're backing up or whatever it is, you still need these things. So the laws of the land says these are the things you need to have on a motor vehicle, whether it's being used on the farm or on the road. You got to make sure it's happening, because a lot of accidents happen because people don't realize the vehicle is backing up. There's no reverse light. Or a man make a left turn because the indicator now work and man didn't say I'm gonna turn. The vehicle brakes doesn't work, so a man catch it up with a stone. The stone move, the vehicle run off, run over somebody, or create more damage, whatever it is. The laws of motor vehicle or motorized vehicle applies whether it's on the road or on your farm. Do you know what I mean? Fitness of the motorized vehicle, all of that comes into play. So you got to make sure You have proper lights on it. The markings, whether it's, you know, if you're carrying hazardous stuff, like if you have a tank in there that you transport chemicals for spraying, make sure the tank is marked, that that's what's in the tank. In the event somebody comes on the farm and don't know what's in the tank and think it may be water or maybe something, it's poison. That's very important. Get what I'm saying? And then different signs on it, on the vehicle or around the farm, to make sure that people know what's going on. You last thing you want is people coming on the farm and see a tank in a pickup truck and think it's water, when that's where you used to spray your crops or spray your field or spray your animals. you know these are the things. One thing, before I move on, always trying to figure out your workers' level of education, how much they can read. Do not take it for granted that a guy can read. Don't listen to him and tell him and make him tell you, say, yeah, man, I'm good, I can read, man. Yeah, yeah, what you mean, boss, I can read, man. No, make him read for you. Because you're going to take it for granted and give him something for read and assume that he's going to read it and follow the instructions on it. He's not. If he can't read, he's going to go ahead and do him feel like the, and when friend him over time, tell him for the how to mix, the ratio to mix water versus, the spray for the grass or the spray for the animals. You might go, remember saying uncle used to put 3-1 or 2-1 or whatever it is. When it may not be, that's what may not what's required. Maybe too strong, maybe too weak, and doesn't work. So make sure they know, their reading capacity, how much they can read, their level of education, their level of understanding things, because it could be detrimental to your operation or detrimental to them and you. You know what I mean? And yeah, I have a specific area where chemicals are mixed, likely a sink with running water, outside sink with running water. So if anything happened, easily flushed, easily flush your eyes, easily flush it off your hands. Yeah, make sure they do it at that sink. It's very, very important. We got one outside sink, everything to do with chemical happens there. I don't want to see you mixing the stuff anywhere else, right at that sink. So in the event anything happen, we can easily push it on the water and flush it, or, put your hand underneath the water and flush it. Next thing is dress appropriately. And what I mean by that, long sleeve shirts is not a good idea on the farm, because anything loose can get caught in machinery, wires, animals, anything. And long sleeve shirts are the easiest thing to get caught. Your sleeve will get caught in a machine. Animal horns will get caught in your sleeve. Anything like that. Dress up appropriately. No long sleeve shirt. No long flowing hair. If your dreadlocks, tie it up. Because trust me, if you wear long locks and I use a sharpening machine and that thing go down into that stuff, I'm sorry for you. Especially the machine that we have. You know what I mean? That's gonna take you right into maybe your head big enough like mine where you can't go through that space where the gas goes, but I'm pretty sure our machine will suck my head in if I had long locks. If your head can't go through it, I go take out the whole on the head side. There I go just start and blood's gonna be flying all over the place. I'm just saying, long locks, tie it up. No long sleeves. You know what I mean? Your shirt tear up or whatever, loose threads and loose thing, don't wear it. Or tear off the thing, the tear up hanging stuff. Take it off. Those are the things that will harm you because they can get caught in machinery, get caught in a fence, get caught an animal's horn, all that stuff. It's dangerous. So no loose clothing, no hanging um hair and long locks and them stuff tied up. And all the rest of man them, I tell them I want to know from now. I'm telling us say, yo, it's dangerous. I don't know if Natty from Chelsea best farm if him have long locks. Is he long Natty dread? Chelsea, give me a fire emoji if you're Natty long. Or you just have a name. I don't remember if I ever seen a picture. But so and the other thing is get enough rest. Get enough rest. I can't say that enough. There's a reason there's such a warning and PSA saying do not operate vehicle if you're fatigued. Truck drivers have to count the drive for a certain length of time. They have to sleep a certain length of time because me know from my own experience, say, yo, when sleeper come, it just show up if you're that tired. I know my own experience driving from New York to Toronto. And I don't know when I fell asleep. It's the rumble strips at the side of the road wake me. And this is winter time. So me drive the rest of the 4 hours. Drive with the window wide open in a winter. Because that cold air, I figure, will stop me from fall asleep. So fatigue. But one thing fatigue will do is it will make you take shortcuts. And grandmother says shortcut bring blood. So it will encourage you to take shortcut when you're doing stuff because you're tired. You know what I mean? And when you're operating machines, whether it's a weed whacker, a tractor, the shafting machine, if you're not alert, you can make mistakes. If you're not alert, you'll make dangerous mistakes that will harm yourself and harm others. So fatigue, get rest is important. You know what I mean? The younger youths, them don't believe in them things too much. One of them will show up at work after them their dance all night. You know what I mean? And them come at work and them tired and you can see it. You can tell they're tired. You know what I mean? Because the relationship we have, they'll tell me that they're tired. You know what I mean? One was at the dance all night or somewhere else. They're on the ends all night. You know what I mean? It's a thing. You know what I mean? So as the boss, we understand that they're young and they do, but we just got to keep reminding them that look, it's dangerous. It's not the best thing to do. You know what I mean? A matter of fact, if Cruz show up and I know he's dead tired, if him fall asleep during lunchtime, I don't even bother. I was like, yo, make him sleep. Because I rather him fall asleep than get hurt. And because I know how hard he works and all that stuff, I'm like, yo, sometimes it's safer that him take a nap. So fatigue is one big thing that you should encourage your workers, encourage everybody, including yourself, to get enough rest and do not operate equipment, machinery, and all them things when you're really tired. And yes, kidding season will tire you out. It will tire you out. But you got to set up a system that it doesn't stress you out and, you know, make you lose your mind. You know, breeding enough goats that's manageable, and spread it out. Don't some people just breed everything one time and 60 kids on the ground, 100 kids on the ground, and you're losing your mind. You know, have 10, 20 goats kid this month, next 2 months or next month, you do another 10, 15, whatever it is to make it manageable. Come up with a system that's manageable for you so you don't get burned out and can do the other things that needs to be done. So fatigue, get enough rest, you know, make sure whatever it is in the morning to make you feel energized. If you feel a little tired but not really that fatigue and coffee or your thing, have some coffee. I don't know, whatever it is. And the next thing is no alcohol. Alcohol should not be a part of the farm daily activities. Alcohol should not come in play until you're done for the day. Alcohol should be far away from operations. And trust me, there's dudes who'll be going on lunch and having a beer, have a shot of whites and whatever, and they don't think anything of it because it's their culture. But alcohol, that thing will cause your life when it comes to operating equipment. There's a reason our government said don't drive under the influence of alcohol. Most major corporations will even have sobriety tests if them suspect something's going on. You know what I mean? Like, you have to be sober. Alcohol and weed, two of them. Anything will impair your judgment, you shouldn't consume them when you're working on a farm. Because weed whacker dangerous, cutlass dangerous in the hands of an impaired person that's not making the right decision, doesn't have the right judgment because their mindset, their thought process is impaired by alcohol or weed. Or first of all, weed make you move slow and don't do things in an efficient way and lethargic, and swinging a cutlass could definitely cause you to lose your foot or something if you're high, you know. So no alcohol, you know what I mean? Just make sure it's definitely stay away off your farm, so Darren says discard all waste material, especially building materials. Yeah, let me touch on that. Somebody needs to explain to me, what is it with people that they dismantle something that has nails and stuff in it and they just throw it down and it doesn't get moved, and they don't take the nails out of it. They just throw them down. One, a lot of the nails can be reused. Two, it's dangerous. Three, it's just like cleanliness, man. Just pick it up, put it where it needs to go. Discarded material, work material like wood and this other thing, it causes the biggest problem on farms and work sites. Because number one, they're not wearing proper shoes, they're not wearing safety shoes. So if them step on a nail, it go straight through whatever they're wearing into their foot. So that's a good point, Darren. Always clean up the area, like zinc, nails, wood, everything. Clear it up, put it where it needs to go. Once you're done doing what you're building or fixing something, clear it out. Don't leave those things around, lying around, because it's definitely going to hurt somebody. And it's going to hurt the person that didn't put it there and doesn't know it's there. And it's going to hurt somebody when it's an urgent situation. When you're running to go get something because something is going bad. Something's gone wrong and you have to run, go get something. You jump over something and jump down and jump on a wood full of nail. Or you hear a goat a ball and you run around the corner and next thing you know, you step on a piece of wood with nail in it. Always like that. Peter, they can say I'm nuts, but yo, I'm just putting it like I see it, man. Trust me, I know, we had the experience and it wasn't that bad, but when we think about what it could have been, how bad it could have been, and the hours, the man hours that you have to spend to go take care of it, it's not worth it. Like, prevent better than cure. Prevention is better than cure. So the next thing is be aware at all times. Be aware at all times. Be alert. Have a full understanding of what's going on around you. Do not take it for granted that you see a loose wire, open wire, you can go touch it. Don't play around, because you don't know if that wire is live. Take all necessary precaution. Pay attention to what you're doing. Don't be taking a phone call in the middle of an activity like shafting the grass or using a weed whacker or any of those things. Plugging in something or electrical fence or all them things. Do not take a phone call. We had one electrician come on the farm and take a phone call on the middle line thing when I do. I work on, I think him that hook up the machine. And take him phone call and pull on them phone pan the conveyor belt of the machine and turn on the machine. And they shred him phone. The phone call could have wait. But no, him decided to take the call and just put it on the machine. Forget what he was actually doing. What was gonna be his next step. So him take the phone out of pocket, answer it, then put it on the machine, on the conveyor belt of the machine, and turn on the machine. And the conveyor belt just take it and run it through the machine. Just because he wasn't aware. He got distracted by the phone. And he was operating electrical equipment and a heavy machine. And that's what happened. Now, luckily, I'm just him phone and not him hand rest on the machine. You know what I'm saying? So it could have been worse. Be aware all the time. Be alert. Your surroundings. If you're using a weed whacker, be aware of your surroundings. What's close to you? Is there any electrical wire close to you? Is there any fencing close to you? Is there stones? Is there a piece of stick? Is like anything. Be aware. And when you're using these equipment, let's move on to the next one. Using these equipment, make the necessary adjustment to the machine according to the application. I talk about weed whacker all the time because a lot of us is familiar with weed whacker usage. Do not use the weed whacker with the string in it if it requires the blade. Do not use the blade if it requires the string. My electrical fence or the goat yard fence, I don't think they cut the electrical wire. They cut the barbed wire all the time. They cut the barbed wire because them use the blade around the fence, and they cut my mobile fence regularly. Not lately, since I decided to say I'm going to charge people for it. Cut up the mobile fence. One man, the one guy mash up the indicator for the electrical fence. It's there right in front of him, flashing to say the fence is hot, and him claims say him skillful enough for cut around it and cut up the wire, the thing, mash it up, because he didn't make the necessary adjustment. He didn't use the proper application of the weed whacker. He had the blade on it when he could have used a string. You know what I mean? Or he could have just moved the thing completely. It's right in front of him. It's flashing, so he can't tell me same seat. He knows he did it. He could have just undo it. It's a clip-on thing. He doesn't need anything. It's clip-on. A squeeze, clip it on the wire. Him could have unclip it and take it away. But no. Him decides to say, cut around it and mash it up. He doesn't really understand the value of it. It's $50 feet. $50 for that thing. And it's not like it's sell down the road. So now at that point, for how many weeks, if I want to go find out if the fence is on, I have to go walk over there and take the meter and put on it, because I don't have the indicator show telling me the fence is hot. So that's what I had to deal with. And the only reason that happened is because he wasn't aware. He wasn't being vigilant about his awareness, his surrounding. You know what I mean? He just definitely took it for granted that he skillful. We can't go around this, but we can do this. And it cost us. You know what I mean? I told you to take it out and pay. I remember she did, but I'm not playing take it out and pay. You know what I mean? So you definitely got to adjust the equipment according to the application. Keep guard shields on the equipment. Don't take it off. It's there for a reason. Wear the proper gear, gloves, eye protection, face protection if needed. You know what I mean? Keep all screws that comes to the equipment. If you have to change something, put back all the screws in it. You come with 4 screws, put back the 4 screws. I don't care how tight you tighten the first 2. It asks for 4 screws, come with 4 screws, put them back. Because the engineer them that built it knows that from vibration or whatever, it's gonna need all 4. You know what I mean? If you're using a weed whacker or anything, and the instructions say for X, you gotta use Y, do not try use the other thing to do it. Change it. Change the fitting. Change the blade. You know what I mean? Change it to the string, whatever it is. If it says flip the thing over, flip it over. Whatever the instruction call for, if you got to change the application of that equipment, do it. Don't figure the setting you have it on now will work, because if the machine says you have to change it. You know what I mean? So be aware of these things. Make sure your workers or yourself are aware of these things. Do not, because, I'm going to stop and go the tool shop for go get this, whatever. So me just make this work, yeah, man. No. Shortcut bring blood. Safety first. All right. Next thing, if you got kids on the farm, your house, the yard, and your farm's out there, and you visit the farm with kids, keep them away from the work areas and equipment. Keep them away from work that's going on, and keep them away from equipment. because kids are curious. And if they see you using the weed whacker and them feel say, yo, me can use it, mean you turn your back, then we pick it up and try to do what them see you did I do. You know what I mean? Them see you use a cutlass and a cut that thing, you turn your back, then pick up the cutlass and say, yo, I'm gonna help dad, I'm gonna help mom, So she that cut them tree, I'm gonna cut it down when she go over there. So maybe just cut it down and surprise her when she come. But they're gonna possibly hurt themselves because they're not as skillful or they don't understand how to use the equipment. To keep them away from it until they're old enough and go through the proper training. Keep them away from equipment and work areas. And trust me, kids as in children, yes, truly, kids as in children. Keep your children away from work areas and equipment. Store your equipment properly if you have children around that can access it. Because you will end up being sorry. Trust me. I've heard a lot of horror stories of children cutting themselves, chopping themselves, weed whacker cut them, all kinds of things. Weed whacker mash up the car because you turn on the weed whacker and put it down beside the car and the kid come and pick it up and it just goes straight up into the vehicle, dig up the vehicle, scratch up the vehicle. Yeah. So be mindful. You know what I mean? Keep children away. All right. And as I mentioned earlier, read the warnings. Most equipment, all equipment that I've seen that we have on the farm anywhere, there's always a warning sticker in the event something happens. Like if you drop in the water, unplug it. If it's raining, don't use it. Like stuff like that. If you're outdoor, don't use it if it's raining. Stuff like that. Shock hazard, all that stuff. There's always a warning. Keep your hands away from, like you're using weed whacker, and there'll be a warning on that shield that goes around the blade or something. There's always a sticker around that area that says, don't put your hand there if the machine is running, right? Pay attention to these things. Make sure you respect it. Respect these warnings. Chemicals. There's a warning on every chemical bottle what you need to do in the event it spill on you, in the event you ingest it, in the event it splashed in your eyes. There is warning stickers that tells you what to do. Always do not remove warning stickers. Never ever remove warning sticker. In fact, if you clean up the machine and the warning sticker is dirty, clean the warning sticker. That's the first thing, because you want to make sure people see the warnings. Do not remove warning stickers from bottles, chemical containers, canisters, tanks. Do not remove the warning stickers. You know what I mean? Just like there's a law that says you can't remove sticker from mattress. There's a reason. I don't even know what to deal with that. But there's always a little tag on mattress that says do not remove. I don't know why. I guess because of the contents or what the material that makes it. I don't know. Always have first aid kit on the farm. Have first aid kit in your car. Have first aid kit in your yard. Have first aid kit 3 or 4 of them different location on the farm. Fire extinguisher. And the first aid kit is really important because that could be the difference between life and death. And people are like, oh, well, what's the first aid kit's gonna do if a man get a serious cut? If you understand first aid, I'm gonna explain it to you since I happen to do multiple first aid training. If a man get a serious cut and is bleeding profusely, During a first aid training, the first thing they try to tell you to do is to stop the bleeding. Stop the bleeding. How do you stop the bleeding? Compression. So you get a but what it like you see, you guys see it on TV. Anything you see on TV is pretty close. Wrap it up tight, 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 and keep wrapping it. And if it's a bleed, just keep wrapping it, wrap it above the wound. You know what I mean? If somebody get a cut on them hand and it's a bleed profusely, try to put them hand above them head and wrap it up so the blood it's less blood pumping to it. If you hang it down, there's more blood. So to stop bleeding, compression. You definitely wrap it tight. Just keep wrapping it. The more stuff you add to wrap it up, the better. You know, get them to the hospital so that people them can deal with it. But first aid kit has compression pads, gauze, adhesive tapes, all those things. You can even use, let's say you get a serious cut and it's bleeding profuse and there's no first aid kit. I can tell you, if you have duct tape, take off his shirt, wrap the shirt tight around the wound, and duct tape it as tight as you can. And that could possibly save your life because you don't want to bleed out to death. You know what I mean? Especially if you're there by yourself. You let that just keep bleeding, don't go to the water thing and try to wash it and what. No, I now got clot. Stop the bleeding. Compression stops the bleeding. And if you're by yourself, the more you bleed, the better chance you ever go pass out. So try to stop the bleeding, and compression stop the bleeding. I'll send you guys the bill later for that little tip. But yeah, so first aid kit is really important. I can tell you the things that should be in your first aid kit, right? Absorbent compression, like these pads, these little pads that absorb the blood, like the little thick ones, like the square or whatever, and those absorb blood, and you can compress them. You can put them on the wound and then wrap the wound, and those things will absorb the blood. And the more blood that's absorbed in it and it stays on the wound, the likely chance of it clotting and stop, right? Adhesive bandages. You guys are everybody should be aware of these bandages, right? Adhesive bandage, the ones that tape to the sticky side. Yeah. And then like adhesive tape. So the adhesive bandage is the one with the little medicinal pad on it, right? That you can, like Band-Aid. Yeah. You have the big ones, you have the small ones. You should always have those at different sizes. And then you have the adhesive tape itself, that if it's a bigger wound that you got to adjust with a bigger gauze or bigger pad, then you have the adhesive tape you can wrap all the way around it. You know, antibiotic treatment. There's antibiotic ointments, antibiotic sprays, all those things. Like polysporin is, I think, is an antibiotic ointment, stuff like that. Antiseptics, like sprays, like iodine, and those things. You know, you can have them as spray. You can have them as the swabs, the you know, those things you tear, and yeah, you can use those. You can have those wipes. They comes in towel forms. Yeah, like just make sure you have some. You know, burn treatment for minor burns. I suggest you consult with a doctor on what exactly is the right treatment for minor burns. Don't listen to people about put Vaseline on it and all them things, because the idea when you get a burn is to cool it down. So cold water is the best thing when you get a burn. Ice, cool water. Put no Vaseline on them things on it, because it just traps the heat and makes it worse. But consult your doctor on what's the best thing you can have for minor burns. And then you should have a first aid guide, like a printed out first aid guide that tells you what are the steps you should take if you get a cut. What are the steps you should take if you get bitten by 40 leg, bitten by a rat, bitten by a wild animal, because some of these animals carry rabies and all them things. First aid guide that tells you what to do in the event you get a burn, what you should do. In the event the chemical splash in your eye, what you should do. You know what I mean? A guide, like posted guide. Especially at the sink where you say the chemical should be used, should be mixed, have a guide there. In the goat house, have a guide. In the machine room or shed, a guide. Emergency contact. Thank Mr. McCook. Emergency contact. Well, I don't know how emergency contact work at Jamaica because I try it and it don't work. But in the event, emergency contact, whether it's a doctor, a vet, your boss, your mother, the taxi man, whatever is gonna bring you help, have that list already readily available. You know what I mean? For sure. Maybe your boss is number one. The boss is number one on that contact list. And in the event the boss not available, then there's a number two and then the number three, and you go on. Then you should have gloves, like medical gloves, just similar gloves you use for kidding or to deal with an animal if an animal needs treatment. Same kind of gloves. So you should have that readily on the farm. Sterile pads. So these are the pads that they come in a paper thing and you can tear them off and apply them to a wound. You should have those separate from your kit because you may have to use 6, 7 of them. So you should have like a little pack of them or something in the kit in the event that you have a serious wound. And separate bandages, like those adhesive bandages. Excuse me. So that's what your first aid kit or first aid thing should have. Let me go over them again. Absorbent compressors, like those thick pads that you just keep on the wound. Adhesive bandages like Band-Aid, different size Band-Aid. The adhesive tapes. There's just a roll of tape that's one side is sticky, and you just can use it to wrap your cut or whatever it is. Antibiotic treatment, for example, polysporin. Antiseptic spray, for example, iodine. A burn treatment, as I said, consult your doctor or health clinic to see what's the best you should have on hand. The guide, a first aid guide, what you should do in the event something happens, whether you get a cut, a burn, chemical injection or spill. You should have a guide, gloves, sterile pads, and bandages. Those are the things you should have. And I think I've covered everything that I could come up with when it comes to safety on the farm. If anybody else have ideas that we can discuss, put it in the comment section, and I will definitely touch on it. Fire safety. Thanks, Trudy. Producer, I work tonight. Actually, she's always working. Fire safety. Oh my gosh. Whew. Fire safety. Okay, let me give you guys a background story on this. So, a few years ago, when we just started, a couple years, there was one day we did some cleanup, cut grass and garbage, whatever, pile up this thing. I said to them, it was a windy day. I said, do not light the fire if it's windy. This is the middle of summer. I said, do not light this fire. All right. I left, walked away, go back to do what I'm doing. I look out the window in the back, I see the smoke. And I'm like, I thought I told them not to light the fire. They lit the fire because they think the wind was gone. There was no wind. But they lit the fire and the wind came back and came back stronger and it starts spreading. Like it starts spreading like wildfire. Like the whole section back there, the fire just start creeping through, going everywhere. So I had to run out there, get hose, call them, put it out, and warn everybody: do not light no fire unless I tell you to light it. No more fires. No more fires until I say it's safe to do so. Do you really think they listen? Trudy can tell you like 3 or 4 times after that, up to last month, it happened. They light fire and it got away. And they light fire and they burn out and then leave it. Nobody makes sure it's out. And I keep telling them, do not leave fire burning unattended. Nope. Jamaicans, I don't know if it's just Jamaicans, but they have this thing where they just light fire and leave it. Right across the street from us. Remember that, Trudy? A whole section of, there's at this little intersection, there's a whole nice big about half-acre grass. Nice grass. Patch of grass is over there. And there's a house next door. And one day, I see this billowing smoke over there. I'm like, the heck's going on? I go out there. The whole half-acre of grass is on fire. The woman next door was cleaning up our yard, make a little pile of garbage in her backyard, and light it. Go in our house, and when she look out, the breeze blow the fire into the field next door to her. The whole thing burned down. By the time fire truck reached there, the whole thing burned down. Burn up the utility wires, everything. Unsupervised fire. So fire should not be lit on the farm and left unsupervised. And if you think it is burnt out and you think you're done with it, pour water upon it. Spray it down with water, with a hose, and spray it down. Because there's a reason firemen them always a douse fire. Doesn't, you don't see no flames, but they're still dousing it because they could be little flames going on underneath, and next thing you know, you leave it to simmer and it ignite itself. So put it out with water. Like definitely try to make sure it's out. Or build yourself a concrete little scope space thing that all fires happens in that thing. And even then, if the wind is high, do not light it, because if the wind pick up those, what they call them, those little sparks that blows away, it could light your field on fire or light your house on fire. I don't remember the correct name for those little things that blow, those fire little things that blows away. They could blow into your roof. Next thing, your roof is on fire. Blow into your field, embers. Thanks. Why truly on it tonight? Embers can burn down your whole place. So be mindful when is the right time to light fire. In fact, you could get the fire department to come do a training. Maybe that's what we should do, Trudy. Get the fire department to come do a training and tell people what they should look out for and how to go about it. What's the safe way to light a fire? And I'm sure there's definitely ways to do it safely. So yeah, that's one thing we should do, and then we'll document it and share it with your our iGoat and Cabo Ranch family, because it's very important, because Jamaica love burn everything. See, Anthony say happen on him farm. Oh no, one of the scariest thing is when we're building the goat house. Remember that, Trudy? We're building the goat house, and we look. If you guys are familiar with the farm, there's a ridge. We look over the ridge towards the ocean, and we see some smoke over there. And we're watching the smoke, and the smoke's getting bigger and bigger. Next thing you know, the fire was coming towards us. This time, there's nothing like that field was just old and dry, and it was just fuel for that fire. So I'm like, yo, I gotta go over there and cut out a space ahead of this fire to create some buffer, since hopefully the fire don't jump and come all the way up to us. Couldn't get it done. We had to call a fire truck, and we had to try our best to keep the fire at bay, because it was coming straight for this goat house we're building, coming all the way up towards us. The fire truck came just in time to put it out. All that greenery you see, I take pictures of, all that was burnt out. Yeah, summer of 2018 when we're building the goat house. Yeah, fire is dangerous, especially on a farm where there's vegetation, summertime when it's dry. Very dangerous. Very, very dangerous, because everything is potential fire hazard. You know what I mean? So we're gonna arrange the fire department to come give us some safety tips and procedures. Because it is important. So yeah, that's one, fire. Mr. Makuk mentioned if somebody is sick, they should stay home. Yeah, that's a big safety, especially in today's environment with COVID and all that. You sick, stay home, turn at your yard, you know. Yeah, Mr. Henry. I think Cape Town I talk about a different kind of fire, man. My burn out the heat and them. Different kind of fire, cleansing kind of fire Cape Town I talk about. Blaze it up, more fire. Truly don't like when I do that. Truly think I'm too grown. Like, because man's in the streets, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, so I think that's I think I covered most of what we should be aware of in our operations. If I'm missing anything, guys, I was pointing out fire, illness. Um, what else? Another thing that we should be very mindful of: rainy season. Nobody should try to challenge streams, flooded areas. Stay away from water surfaces, because you don't know what's underneath it. You don't know how deep that is. We lost chick star, in a pit, because nobody know how much water was in it, how deep it is. We don't know the details, but if you can't swim, even when you can't swim, if a stream's running, you have no idea how powerful it is. Don't try to cross it. Nobody can cross it. Only the bus can cross it. The bus can swim. Yeah, like, for sure, rainy season do not test water, waterways, puddles. Stay away from them. Even if you think, oh, I know that spot, it's not that deep, but you don't know what's underneath it. You know what I mean? You don't know what was washed into that space. So thinking you can go through it's not safe. Um, Report all accidents to your boss. Yep, every accident should be reported and documented, and we should discuss it and try to see how we can learn from it and what not to do the next time. Because sometimes stuff happen doing it the way it was instructed to do, and we weren't aware of something and it went wrong. So we can learn from it and say, okay, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do it that way because we realize it could be harmful that way, and we change the way we do it. So thank you, Peter, for that. Yeah, as I was saying, the water thing, water time, rainy season. I've lost 3 or 4 people over my lifetime because of that. I lost two really good friends at primary school, 2 brothers that took it for granted, wash away, drown. You know what I mean? And these were young youths, but you know what I mean? Them things that the drainage that we used to jump cross all the time, jump cross them, say, oh, they can, play with it and do whatever and drop in it and couldn't come out. And they washed them through the culvert and all the way into the river. It was strong. So we couldn't save them. Observation. Yeah, observation is key. As I mentioned before, be aware at all times. Observe your surroundings. Be aware at all times of your surroundings. Observe what's going on. Don't take anything for granted. Pay attention to everything, especially if you're handling equipment, especially if you're using weed whacker, shafting machine, a drill, a hammer, a saw. You know, I have one of those nail guns on the farm, and multiple times, actually multiple times, you hear me telling them, do not play with it. It's not a joke. Although it has safety things on it, Jamaicans love take risk. And I don't want them to play with it and think them can joke around and next thing you know, a nail go right into somebody. Do not play with equipment. Do not play with the saw. Do not play with the drill. It's not a toy. So all those precautions, all those things need to be taken into consideration in your operation on the farm. Anything to do with anything that's chemical, whether it's medication or sprays or all that stuff, should be stored away properly. The labels should not be removed. Labels should not be obscured. Do not take the liquid or whatever from one container and put it into another container. That's completely different labeling. It is not safe. It will be applied incorrectly. It could be consumed. Do not put things in bottled water bottles. Do not. Like you can put gas. You see how people love to put gas in a water bottle? But guess what? There is what is it, cranberry water or something in Jamaica that looks like water down or whatever. It looks like you can mistake gas or something for that drink. Anybody I would know what I'm talking about, give me a thumbs up or emoji. Is it cranberry water or something that has a red, kind of a red look to it? And that thing can be mistaken. You can mistake gas or some form of fluid for that thing, for that water. Do not. Water bottles should not be utilized for nothing else but water. Don't put no chemical in it. You know what I mean? Try your best. I know it's hard, especially when, resources tight and stuff, but can a matter of life and death. Seriously. So I think that's it. It's what I can cover. I think I got it all covered here based on my notes. Um, yeah, see, what's saying we say light, yeah, light cranberry. Yeah, that's the one. That's the one. That's like people love put gas in water bottle, but the cranberry juice, cranberry water looks similar to it. So with that said, I'm gonna bid you guys good night. It's a nice 1 hour thing, nice and short tonight. Um, thank you guys for coming. Thank you guys for being a part of this as usual. We appreciate all the regulars and the people who hang out and get the good information that we want to share. I know these some of these information are not as sexy as the others, but well, we got to share them. They're important. You know what I mean? And the people who say, "Oh, this is not too interesting right now," not knowing about goat, but it's there for them to check out when they're ready. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, safety safety come first, and we're happy to share with you what we can on how to have a safe operation. And see you guys next week. Appreciate you all, and thank you for hanging out with us on another Saturday evening. You could be anywhere doing all kinds of stuff. Know that what they call it, the lifting curfews and them things. Jamaica soon completely open up, so parties soon start run hard. We soon have iGoat chat with just 5 people on it because everybody gonna dance. But that's how it go. We'll keep going. All right. Thank you guys. And see you guys next week. All right. Peace.